Hello friends, welcome to Research Life. I am your host Dr. Sabyasachi Sengupta, founder and director of Sengupta's Research Academy and practicing vitreoretinal surgeon in Mumbai. Research Life is a platform meant to ignite the spirit of clinical research amongst all of us. Here I host some of the most eminent researchers in India and am confident that their journey will inspire us all.
Dear friends, I hope you have been enjoying the previous episodes of Research Live with me. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Dr. Jay Chablani, our guest in today's episode of Research Live. Dr. Chablani is a faculty clinician at the University of Pittsburgh Eye Center in the state of Pennsylvania in the USA. He completed his ophthalmology training at Kasturba Medical College in Mangalore, followed by a clinical vitreoretina fellowship from the prestigious Shankar Nethralaya in Chennai. He then went on to do an International Council of Ophthalmology fellowship at the Jules Koenen Eye Hospital in Switzerland in 2009, followed by a stint as a clinical instructor at the Jacobs Retina Center, part of the Shiley Eye Center at the University of California in San Diego in the USA between 2010 and 2012. On his return to India, he joined the L.V. Prasad Eye Institute in Hyderabad, India, as faculty and served there between 2012 and 2019. His areas of interest are macular disorders and newer imaging techniques. Dr. Jay has published more than 350 articles in peer-reviewed journals, mainly dealing with vitreoretinal disorders, with specific emphasis on the choroid and its imaging. He is the editor of two textbooks, one titled Choroidal Disorders and the other titled Central Serous Chorioretinopathy, and I urge you all to read his extremely well-presented books that simplify disease understanding. He is on the reviewing boards of all high-impact journals including Science Translational Medicine. He is also on the editorial board of several journals including the American Journal of Ophthalmology. He has many national and international awards to his credit. He has delivered the inaugural Ian Constable Lecture at the Asia Pacific Vitreoretina Society in 2016, and he received the inaugural Nam Perumalsamy Young Researcher Award in 2018 presented by the Vitreoretina Society of India. It is indeed remarkable that at just 40 years of age, Dr. Jay has already published so much meaningful work. He is also part of many international collaborations and has published extensively with many reputed groups. He is a role model for all of us, and I am sure you will learn a lot from his research and publications journey so far. So without further ado, let me present to you Dr. Jay Chablani.
So thank you so much, Dr. Jay Chablani, for doing this with us, and it's an honor and pleasure to have you on the show.
First of all, Sunny, I really want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you and be able to send some messages to young researchers through your fantastic platform. I believe it is really a big boon for all of them. First, and I want to really congratulate you to have such a website and such episodes. I'm very happy that you are doing this initiative.
So the first question was, how did your clinical research and publications journey start, and what motivated you?
I would say that I was always interested in doing some clinical research. During my residency, I used to have a couple of projects, paper presentation, poster, but never actually wrote anything properly. Then I reached Shankar Nethralaya, obviously among the best people in the country around me, and they are like so fantastic clinicians, researchers. I started a couple of projects, but did not actually write anything. But the real click, I would say, for the clinical research happened when I joined L.V. Prasad. Because I believe L.V. Prasad was a perfect example of having a heavy clinical schedule but giving equal importance to the research. And this is what I believe Dr. Rao has done for all of us. He has provided a fantastic platform to in L.V. Prasad where we could do both clinical as well as good clinical research. So then, after reaching L.V. Prasad, I started obviously with a heavy clinical work. I started a little bit of research. But yes, eventually I learned the value of international fellowship. Yeah, so I would say that this all clinical research actually started in LVPI, became much better, good shape in San Diego. And then I went back and then it took it forward further. Yeah.
So Jay, the second question was, did you have a mentor or someone that you looked up to?
I think it's a very important question. At every stage of our life, we have some role models, mentors around us. I had few professors in KMC Mangalore who used to talk about Shankar Nethralaya Retina Fellowship. So I got motivated that I need to go to Shankar Nethralaya and do a Retina Fellowship. Then reached SN, great clinicians and very nice consultants around me. I would say that it's very difficult to actually pinpoint one person that, yeah, he was or she was my mentor. But I think I was very lucky to have role models and mentors along the way, and then reached LVP. And LVP, obviously, a lot of good clinical researchers around me. Then, when I actually came to San Diego, Dr. Freeman, he himself is a great clinical researcher. I would say that with him, I actually learned that how do you actually streamline the whole research along with your clinical activities. Then I was lucky to have Dr. Mike Stewart, Dr. Fernando Arevalo as my mentor. They still guide me. Now I'm lucky that Dr. Sahil is the chairman, who is a very well accomplished clinician scientist, and I really consider him as my role model here.
All right, I think so. A lot of people have been involved in your journey and to get you where you are. I think that's usually the case with most people.
Yeah.
All
True.
right. That's a nice answer. So, Dr. Jay, the next question was, when did you publish your first paper? I know there have been so many, but I hope that you remember. But when did you publish your first paper, and what is the exact role that you played, in that paper?
It's nice. So I came to LVP after SN. I used to share office with Rajanarayan, and we would be discussing about many things, MacTel, imaging, and I got interested in MacTel. We started looking for early MacTel patients, and then I would say I was involved from A to Z, starting with seeing the patients, getting their images done, collecting the data, going through the charts, collecting images, writing it up, and working on 7 revisions. And finally, it got accepted in European Journal of Ophthalmology. I was very excited. That was my first original article. But yeah, I did not give up at that time even.
Nice. I think so. I think some great messages coming out where you persist and persist right from start to finish, from data collection to writing, and then to making so many different revisions. So
No, honestly, I'm sure you have published quite a bit and great papers. So I think the best person to write the paper is the one who has done the study, who has actually been part of it. That the message comes out really well from that paper.
Okay, Dr. Jay, the next question was, how important do you think it is to start early in your research journey, maybe even MBBS days or during residency? Do you think it is okay to start much later in your career?
I think it is really good to start early. Unfortunately, the education system in India, somehow we are more forced to actually get into clinicals and post graduation move to fellowship, but we really don't give a particular time for the research. I started late, but I think it is good to start early because you learn quite a bit, but it is never late. Honestly, I don't think that it is very late to start the research. Anytime you can do, and I would say that the more experience you become clinically, you have much better questions to actually answer and more clinically applicable results you really want to bring out. So sometimes both the things are good, but starting early is always better, but it is never late.
Yeah, I think the important message is that it's never too late.
Yes, it's never
Right.
too late.
Okay, Dr. Jay, the next question was, how important do you think it is to publish your thesis? Does it give you a jump start?
I think if you really think your thesis is actually the first attempt where you have started research, it is the first research project where you are actually involved from the beginning, like data collection, literature search, putting this together. So this is a very good opportunity to actually publish it. It actually motivates you to publish it, and it is possible that may remain only project which you did during your residency. So I think it is very important that every resident should focus to publish their thesis, and that can actually motivate them to do more and more. However, I did not publish my thesis. It was on glaucoma, but I think it is good, and I have been thesis guide to a couple of students, and we have done really good. And they were also motivated. So I think it is overall a very good step. We should focus to publish the thesis. That is the very important message, I believe, for residents.
So the next question is, how important do you think it is to have formal training on clinical research methodology even before you start, or is it okay to start learning on the job?
I honestly did not have any formal clinical research methodology training. I learned, I would say, on the go, but I think it is very good to have some formal training. And I really feel lucky in today's day that people have good access to these clinical research methodology workshop. And your website is fantastic. I have seen it, and it has a lot of opportunities where we can learn the basics. So it is good to have some formal training, and even if you do not have, but that doesn't stop you to start the research. And we all learn on the go, as we have done for so many things. So it is good to have it, and now it is much easier to have it. So I think I would suggest that if you are actually planning to pursue this as a clinical researcher or a clinician scientist, it is good to actually go through those courses formally in the beginning.
Yeah, I think important message is that it's like never too late to start, and you can always learn on the go.
Yes.
And with nowadays, with so many different avenues available, it's relatively easier.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah. So the next question was, how important do you think it is to have an international stint or a fellowship to improve your research skills? Did you have one, and how much of an impact has it had on your career?
I think it is important to have an international exposure. When I reached LVPI, then I realized that it is good to actually go for a fellowship internationally. And it did help me to do a fellowship in San Diego. I learned so many things from Dr. Freeman. How do you actually start your research project? How do you actually do a basic statistics? How do you actually use the data what you have? How do you present that? And I think it more importantly, especially when we are from India, it actually gives us an opportunity to understand how the things go in abroad, and we develop networking. So overall, it's a very important step. However, it is not necessary that to have an international fellowship, because nowadays the technology wise, India is not behind. We have so many good institutes. We have so many great mentors. So I don't think that it is a must, but it is good to have one.
Yeah, I think it gives you a larger sort of outlook.
Yeah.
Gives you a different perspective, new thought process. The next question is, what is the key to developing international collaborations or working with groups? Is there anything particular that you came across when you started these initial collaborations? We've seen so many of your papers being, collaborations with so many different groups. So anything in particular that your insight might help people getting initiated?
I think collaboration with international groups and many people in India, I think the key to success is that be honest with them and be accountable to them, because they are working with you, so they trust you. And at the same time, if you are having a collaboration, then you have to really respond back. And so that's why I said that you have to be accountable to them. And it is just it's a cycle which you just start once and you keep joining with other groups, and it keeps going on. But I think the key is that just be honest and accountable, and it will just move on.
Right. Can you just add a little bit about how to initiate these? If someone, how do you get in touch with groups, or is it in meetings, RO, or papers that you have written in that same field, or do they get in touch with you?
How to actually initiate collaboration? I would say that you keep interacting with people at meetings, and you get to hear someone's lecture. You have some common cases. You end up talking about that. You start putting them together, and that's how I got started with Pan American association group where we started a couple of papers, and I think it just became one after the other. And I think the the response improves as you actually start performing better, because people start believing you that okay, you're working with this guy, he's going to do a good job, and he's trustworthy, and this is how it just starts.
I think Fernando Alvaro from the Packers group was the first that you had your
Yeah,
pleasure with, and
exactly.
then then
Yeah.
he was part of Kekesh, and he was part of Hopkins, and
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
guess that's how it all
That's how it started. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
correct. All right. I think some very important messages coming out from there.
Thank you so much.
So the next question was, how did you get so many research ideas? You've worked on so many different aspects, and so how do you do these ideas pop in your mind, and how do you
I,
get these ideas?
I, I always say that the best teacher to all of us is our patient. So as a clinicians, when you are treating a patient, so I would say that if you start thinking little, take another extra mile, that how can I do something better for this patient? Don't just brush off the findings or the questions. Try to work on that, try to figure out what is that and can I do something better. So I think the most of the questions, at least what I have got, is from the patients. And yes, then you have fantastic fellows and residents around you who keep asking you questions. I love interacting with them. And then, yeah, you are part of many meetings. You are following many of your interesting topics, publications, and you keep asking questions to yourself, and you will get ideas. I'm pretty sure that this is the best way to take the research forward.
Yeah, I think the important message here is, as has been from many others whom I've interviewed, is ask the right questions, or ask questions again and again. Ask more questions. Some of them
Yes,
will be right, and then
yes,
you will
yes.
land up at least one out
Absolutely.
of 10 will be worth pursuing. So ask more
Absolutely.
questions. The next question is, what is the key to your manuscript preparation? We've seen all of them to be so immaculate. Is there any particular order that you follow when you write them, or
I think I'm still learning how to write a manuscript. But I would say that the first message is that don't try to make your first draft as your final draft. Because I think many people, including myself, I have also struggled to make the first draft as the best draft. That does not happen, and don't even try that. So I would say that just start writing it up. And I usually like to start with methods because that is the one which I have done it. So I know about them. That's why I can write that easily. And because you have the data, so you have the results. So the second section I usually like to write is the results, because that is already available to you. And I believe because you have already read so much, you have done the literature search, then you jump on to write the introduction and discussion. But I have discussed this point with many people, and everybody has their own way of starting to write a manuscript. There is nothing right or wrong. The most important thing is right.
most important message is, it's always hard to start from a white page.
Yes,
So
yes,
just
yes. The
get on,
first page is always start.
with it. Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Okay. The next question was: is there a particular paper or a group of papers that are your most favorite, or you think have been the most impactful so far?
I think that because my area of interest is choroid, so I have been very passionate, and that is the area which I follow very closely. So I like my choroid papers, but I would say that one of my most favorite is the Ziv aflibercept work, which I could do at LV Prasad. I believe that had really a larger impact on the patient care in India as well as abroad, and I think it was very much possible only because I was at LV Prasad, and we could take that work forward with the help of so many colleagues at LVP. So I believe that was a big contribution from LV Prasad for the patient care.
So Jay, the next question was: is there anything particular or exciting that you're working on right now that you want to share with our listeners?
My area of interest is choroidal imaging. So now we are like trying to come up with more choroidal biomarkers using white field imaging, OCT angio, and now I'm very actively involved here at UPMC, working on deep learning algorithms. So I believe my area of focus is still the same, and I think I'll be working in this area only, and there is so much to learn. I think it will take a lot of time.
Absolutely, we are looking forward to so many excitings coming from you. Okay, so Jay, the next question was, how do you manage to devote so much time of yours for clinical research despite being a very busy clinician?
I think the best thing I learned in LV Prasad is time management. As you know that we were really very busy clinically at LV Prasad. So I believe that if you are busier, you can utilize the time in a much better manner. So obviously the clinics were very heavy, but still we had dedicated research time at LV Prasad. So I made sure that my research days are the busiest day of the weeks. I would not be wasting any time on my research days. I will be trying to find these small pockets of time in between the OR, between the cases, between the light clinic days where we can actually finish some work, go and meet this person, get this data. I think one very important thing I suggest to many people is that learn to manage time and try to maintain your own database, because I think that definitely helps. When you have your own database ready, you can kickstart it quickly. So that is a very important thing, I believe.
Right, time management. Also, your focus very comes across very nicely when you talk about it's like a single-minded or sort of very focused approach where you are you're trying to manufacture time for this. I think
Yes.
that's really important to. It really has to have that focus, otherwise you lose it, right? I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct. Vijay, so the next question is, how do you maintain a work-life balance with so much or so many different activities going on?
I think this topic is something which we can talk for hours. But many years before, I read one novel by Chetan Bhagat, who said that you do not want a successful life, but you want a balanced, successful life. So somehow that has always been my mantra, that especially in our third and fourth decade, you are going through a lot. You are under training, you are getting married, you are starting a new family, you have to earn money, you have to work towards your profession, you have to build up your patient pool. There is so much stress on us in these third and fourth decade. I feel that this is the toughest part of our life. I hope the future is not worse. But one very important thing which my wife Preeti and I have made very clear is that we actually give very high importance to our kids. So I feel that the way you are committed to your work, the same way you are committed to your family. And if you know that you will not be successful if any of the parts of your life you fail, then you will definitely be bringing out time somehow to satisfy that responsibility. So the way the clinics are important, the same way the kids are important, the same way research is important. You just divide yourself into many things and try to just give your best to each of it. So when you are with your kids, don't open the laptop. If it is your research time, don't do anything else. So I think this discipline is very, very essential, and I believe this discipline actually keeps your personal as well as professional life very happy. And yes, my family has been very supportive, especially my brother and Preeti. They have always stood beside me. So I'm very thankful to them. But yes, we have to find this balance uh, in our life.
Right. I think the key word is probably prioritize, where whenever
Yes.
you are, wherever you are, you have to give it the best that you have.
The
Right.
best, yeah, that's true.
Nice. Okay, so the last question is, any special or particular message to the young researchers who are going to watch this episode? Anything in particular that you think is a take-home message or something that you can motivate them with?
I think India is going through a big transition, and I'm very happy that a lot of young researchers have already understood the value of publications. So they all are doing really a fantastic job. But I would say that just don't get drained out in your routine life, seeing patients, and you are not involved in asking questions, doing any research. Don't get drained out in your routine practice, and try to build up your team. And I think the most important thing I believe is that make sure that you are actually contributing to the science and maintaining good ethics. And one very important thing I always believe is that give credit to each member of your team, even if they have done the smallest job in your research project. Give them the credit. It is possible that you will be motivating them more, and they will be doing really much better job next time, and your team only will get more and more stronger. And one more thing which I really want to say to all of them is that you don't have to be in an institute to do a research. Even in a private practice, when you are seeing patients, you have questions, you can always push that question forward and come up with something useful. So don't think that now research is only limited to institutions, and you can do equally good job even in your solo private practice.
I think some very positive and very strong messages that you're giving, and I think it will be very useful for people listening. So, all right, Jay, thank you so much for being on the show and for spending your valuable time and giving us all these informations. And your journey has sort of just started. I'm sure you are going to be more illustrious than you already are.
I'm hoping, man.
Yes, and I hope we'll get a chance to interview you maybe in a couple of years again when you have a lot more behind you.